Ollie Webb in the third one. Also, car number 49 drops straight into the pits. And in fact, that Collis car that was in 5th position is going slowly. The front looks as if it's dropped down, the nose has dropped down, and he's just pulling to the side, and the rest of the LMP2s are streaming past him. And that could be a puncture on the left front as well.
It is. That's Ollie Webb in the grey and yellow flashed liveried Colles car. The LMP2 cars, look at them battling, look at them battling. Ollie Jarvis leads into the first chicane. There is the Colles car. It's in trouble. The nose has been knocked. There's your leader, Conway, up the gears, building to a speed of over 210 miles an hour as he goes down the middle part of the Mulsanne Straight. He's gone through the first chicane, now towards the left chicane, which is the Michelin chicane. We're on board with the Signatech Alpine, that's number 36, as he is trying to go around the outside in the middle of the pack of one of the SMP racing cars, mid-pack. A lot of work to do there for the number 36.
Yeah, Jarvis jumped into the lead in that respect in LMP2, which is a very strong one because they think in long runs through the course of this race they're looking very good. To be in the lead at this point is where they need to be.
Mike Conway into the Mulsanne corner. There's his lead. Green flag being shown. Nothing in front of him. He's got a great clear run. Neil Jarni, the Swiss driver with the number 1 Porsche right behind him. Look at that. Look at the technology in those 5 cars. Look at the speed as we barrel it down to Indianapolis. It ain't going to get any better at Le Mans like this.
Oh, we're going to have a few more hours of this one though, Toby, as they're coming down flat out. And Conway's sort of checked out a little bit at the moment. I don't think that's a particular drama because Porsche were actually working their tyres a little bit differently. They were taking a little bit more cautiously on the outlap. So I think this is just a case of settling down on lap 1 right now.
A look back from the second place Porsche of Neil Jarni. The camera on the shark fin on the rear of that car, looking back at number 8 Buemi, and then Timo Bernhard in the number 2 Porsche. He's in 4th position at the moment. Into the Porsche curbs for the first time competitively in 2017.
Very quick coming through here. As you'll also, the circuit's changed. They did a warm-up this morning, so now they'll be trying to find out where the grip is. But obviously, with enough confidence, the fact they were absolutely flat out through the double left-handers, that's at 270 kilometres per hour. And then now coming through the Porsche garage, you can see there Brendan Hartley and Nick Tandy just having a little chat about it. But right now, Conway's sort of taking a little bit of a break. Yanni's still able to hold quite easily onto his second place with Buemi.
The first lap completed by Toyota. The winners last year did 384 laps around this 8.5 mile circuit here in France. There is the leading GTE Pro Ferrari. That's Alessandro Pierguidi ahead of Darren Turner and Nicky Thiem in their Aston Martins respectively. The leading Ford at the moment is in 4th place in class. The number 69, Richard Westbrook, at the wheel. In GTE AM, it's Fernando Reis in the Art car, leading Pedro Lamy and Cairoli in the Dempsey Porsche.
Yeah, we did talk about Ferrari. Pierguidi, a young guy, young charger, definitely charged to the front. Darren Turner, an older hand in the Aston Martin, sitting there in second. As the Ford is pretty close up in his, actually up into 3rd place. Westbrook is now overtaken. No, he hasn't, sorry. No. It's actually still in 4th with Nicky Thiem in 3rd. And so right now it's sort of settled down there, but there's a stream of cars just running through in front of us, our commentary box here.
Well, the leading Toyota and Porsche may well have streaked away into the distance, but do not underestimate the speed of these GTE cars in both of the classes. Whether or not you've got a 2017 car or a 2016 car in the AM class, these are still very, very quick racing cars.
Ah, they are, and there's now the Collis car just in front of us. Sorry to not cover your screen, but he's actually just coming into the pits, and that was the car we saw in lap 1 that took 4th position, but then had a problem with the front splitter of the car, and it's now coming down. You see the right hand edge bouncing up and down, and that was a disappointment for them, but ultimately they've had a bit of a difficult sort of weekend.
Yeah, they've got the 3-litre Nissan V6 mounted in the back of that used to be in the Nissan LMP1 car, but they had an engine change, as you say, here overnight. Oh, some bodywork. Is that loose?
Yes, it is. Actually, it's a bit of damage on the 9.
That's a hit.
And that looks like it could have, well, 9. That's the car that was very close with the 4 of the Collis. So it looks like the Toyota of Lapierre, and also, as you can see, Toyoda-san himself, the Toyota of Lapierre and the Collis car maybe had a bit of a collision there.
So now the story unravels, doesn't it? There you have your GTE Pro battle. Here is the Coles into the pits. Old nose off, new nose going on. The mounting points shouldn't have been damaged, and they'll get that thing sorted, and then it'll be on its way.
It's not a quick nose change, this. Not sure if there's a little bit of extra damage as well. And Nicky Team has overtaken, so now we're looking at the the GTE battle. Nicky Team has jumped Darren Turner, so Darren Turner, the pole position man, is now dropped down to third place. Still the Ferrari of Puer Guidi that is leading in that category. Up the front though, you've got Conway, who's now 2.5 seconds away from the Porsche of Neil Yanni, and then Buemi in the sister Toyota is another further second behind, and then Timo Bernhard in the fourth car there. With Lapierre a little bit further back, Lapierre with some damage on the front, and Louise in the pit lane is telling us that the Toyota are getting prepared for a potential stop.
And the other thing about that Toyota that was damaged is, I think there was a light out, Alan, and if you don't have all of your lights illuminated, then you have to come in. Let's see what happens. Maybe it was just the angle of the camera.
I think it was actually below the light that where it had the hit. It was on the bodywork, and it was on the right-hand side, and so I'd say it was below the light there. In this respect, it's daylight. It's not as if they're actually going to need the lights too much, as
but it's the rules.
Applicable at night. Yeah. And so there. But Mike Conway has just put in a 3:18.932, the fastest lap of the race so far, just to stretch his lead to 2.5 seconds.
Anthony Davidson looks on. He will be getting into the number 8 car soon. He is currently in third position with Sebastian Buemi in that place. Here is LMP2. Ollie Jarvis leads LMP2 ahead of Bruno Senna, ahead of Vitaly Petrov and Piquet Jr. What a lineup. Then John-Eric Vergne, then Emmanuel Collard. Wow, what depth of field they have got in LMP2. The organisers of this race, the organisers of the World Endurance Championship, have certainly got the LMP2 rules absolutely spot on. As we ride in third position with Sebastian Buemi, getting ever closer to Neil Gianni, who is the leading Porsche at present, in second position, because Conway is 2.5 seconds up the road in the number 7 Toyota. 3 Toyotas, 2 Porsches.
Yeah, he's in the slipstream now as he starts to come up over the hill towards the Mulsanne corner, sort of looking. He's not really going to have an attack into here. And what he's going to try and do is boost the hybrid energy coming out, and he's got a nice clean run out of it. But you can see the Porsche is actually very quick off the corner. And now they've got the long run down to Indianapolis, which to overtake into Indianapolis you need the help and assistance of the car ahead, because he can sit in the middle of the road, and you don't actually have very much of the road to be able to do anything with it.
On board with Buemi once more, into the right-hander at Indianapolis, through the left, bit of banking helping you through there, before then into the slowest corner of this racetrack, Arnage.
It does look to me that Buemi does have the legs on the number 1, but he, it seems, if you remember back to the first corner, he got a bit squirrely through the corner itself. The rear end got loose, and that's when Yanni was able to jump him. So maybe just didn't get his tyres up to temperature quick enough, and Yanni was able to jump ahead, and he's able to stay there. So it's interesting, the speed of these 2 cars on the straights themselves are very similar.
Well, the interesting thing for me is, if I looked at the qualifying, Peter, that it was actually when it was hotter, the Porsche looked a little bit more competitive. So the Toyota's able to stretch its advantage at the moment, and they're definitely in very good shape. But very early days in that respect. I think when we get into the second stint of the race, that's when we're going to see how the temperature and the tyre degradations are affecting the different performances.
Yeah, that's right, I think so. And when we do have these cars coming in for the first time, it's the first time that they're going to stop for their after their first stint, and they'll be stationary for a little while. The cars themselves get very hot in that time, and we'll get the first sort of signs of whether there'll be any issues throughout the grid, really, of heat as they get the heat soak coming into the pits.
Certainly are, as we're on board there in the LMP2 battle for 6th place with the Jackie Chan DC racing car. And as it comes down in towards, jumping in towards the Ford chicane, bouncing right in front of our commentary box as we see them flick left, right over the curbs, accelerate out over the start and finish straight.
Back though with GTE Pro, look at it, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, it's as quick as that. Nicky Team now taken the lead ahead of the Ferrari of Pierre Guidi and also the Aston of Darren Turner. That's the Bratislava car, 49, the Ligier. That's had a spin at the first chicane down the back straight on the way out. So now the LMP1 cars are lapping other cars. So that's first, second, third, Aston, Ferrari, Ford in GTE Pro. That's the leading Ford. It's the number 69 car, and it's got Richard Westbrook at the wheel. He'll be sharing with Ryan Briscoe and Scott Dixon.
Yeah, you said about traffic in the LMP1 cars. That's the opportunity for Sebastian Buemi maybe to get a bit of a run on second place Porsche of Neil Yanni. You use the traffic to your advantage and try and compromise the guy that you're racing wheel to wheel for position with. But right now, those two Aston Martins, even although they never got the jump at the beginning, seem to have got their legs now that they're into the stride. Only done 12 minutes, but they've got themselves back up into first and second.
Of course, Aston Martin are the only manufacturer in GT Pro that are running Dunlop tyres. The rest are on Michelin, and I think the feeling is that perhaps in the heat of the day, in the hot temperatures, the Dunlop tyre might just be a little bit stronger than the Michelin.
There's also that point of how much you want to stress them right at the beginning. Talking about stress, then Sebastian Buemi's been a bit of stress on Neil Yanni as they're now running down in towards Indianapolis. Very, very quick right-hander. Use it to recuperate hybrid energy. Lift off, let the car roll through. It takes the kinetic energy from the front axle, stores it in a battery, and then now as they come out of the slowest corner, Arnage, then they deliver that harnessed energy into extra acceleration through the front wheels.
Now down towards the Porsche curves. The helicopter cannot keep up. Cannot keep up with these cars. 210 plus miles an hour. And then, wow, what a sight to see these cars through these corners, similar to Maggots Beckett's at Silverstone.
I stood on the right-hand side of that shot for the first part of qualifying, just as Kobayashi was about to deliver his pole position lap. I tell you what, it takes your breath away. The energy, the intensity, the vibration, everything as they thunder past you is absolutely sensational.
Hard on the brakes, though, into the Ford chicane as they are coming up to complete their fourth lap. This, is the ever-tight GTE Pro battle. Still, it is Nicky Team leading from Darren Turner, Aston 1-2, Ferrari in third, Ford then in fourth, and we have the Corvette Garcia in fifth place.
You know, all this talk of the BOP, balance of performance with these cars, of course we know that they're all ACO are trying to balance these cars out for the whole championship, and look at them all line astern. So it kind of the first indications are that they've got it right. You know, it seems that it's anyone's game at the moment.
The people who are missing from what I said in that top five are Porsche at the moment. Kevin Estre is the leading Porsche in GTE Pro at the moment in the number 92 Porsche. It's got the white sun band and the predominantly white roof that you can see in the distance there through the heat haze as they come out of Mulsanne, as we ride on board with the leader of GTE Pro, the Dane Nicky Team. Back though with the Fords, this has got Richard Westbrook. Very different engine note, of course, with that turbocharged V6 with the Ford compared with the big banger 5.5 litre V8 with the Aston Martins that are pulling away, relatively speaking.
Yeah, they are. That's the one thing, is all of this category, they've got very different engine concepts, and you hear it as well as sort of the sound and the acoustics of it. They're very, very identifiable. Even just at shutting your eyes, you know which car's coming past. Porsche, in my opinion, it sounds the best.
Best sounding car here, full stop, in my opinion. Mr. Dumbreck, sir, your opinion?
I tend to agree with that, yes. Yes, they do sound very good, but they're not leading the race right now. Aston Martin are.
And if you're a driver, you don't care what they sound like, do you? LMP2 is led by Ollie Jarvis at the moment with the DC Racing Jackie Chan car. This is the battle, though, for sixth position.
Yeah, As we're back to the battle at the front, and you can see Conway just stretching his lead, only about a tenth of a second per lap at this moment in time over Yanni and Buemi. And Buemi's stuck behind. Buemi can't actually do very much about Neil Yanni. He's quicker, but he's not quick enough, so he's going to have to wait until they get to the back of the GTE AM battle, and then maybe try and use traffic to help himself through.
Here's the continuation of that battle with the number 35, Panciatici. The Alpine, he's gone up to 6th position as we speak. So he's in the blue Alpine. We come back on board with the number 37. This is Thomas Gomendy, first year racing in the full Le Mans 24 hours after he won the Michelin Road to Le Mans race here 12 months ago. Trying to go 2 wide, trying to go 3 wide. It's going to be a bit tight as they go into Mulsanne there.
Yeah, it is, and Collard's dropped back a couple of places, and now he's dropped back 3 places as well, as he's gone a little bit wide at Mulsanne, and that's left Rusinov to come past in the G-Drive car. So there's been all change in the position they're fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in LMP2.
Emmanuel Collard, over 20 races that he's done here at Le Mans. He's done 22
races here. He's even with Jan Lammers, so they're the 2 most experienced drivers here. I guess Collard was going to do the race. Lammers thought, oh, no, we're not having that. You're not moving ahead of me in the rankings. So they're both going to be 23 today.
For the Le Mans starts, Collard, he's driving with the father-son combination, Francois Perrodo and Mathieu Vaxivier, whilst Jan Lammers is with Van Aert and Rubens Barrichello in the yellow Dutch-entered Jumbo-sponsored Dallara. You will not miss it. Just a little bit further back it is. Meanwhile, that's Tracy Crone, the Ferrari, coming in. The DH Racing 488 GTE, that's just come in the pits. I don't know what the problem was there with the AM. That was Johnson at the wheel.
It's very early because normally we'd expect the first pit stops for the LMP1s to be between lap 11 and lap 13. And then in the LMP2s it'll be a little bit earlier than that. They'll be laps 7 to 8, I would say. And then the GT cars to be similar to an LMP1, where they'll be about lap 10 to 11. In fact, we see the first of the LMP2 cars that's just going to dive into the pits right now, I'd say, on this lap we're on now.
So that's one of the G-Drive Jota cars coming in. Ryo Hirakawa, who's coming to the pits already. Bit of an odd time to stop after 19 minutes of running, well, but who knows?
It isn't. You're getting out of the cycle, so if he was stuck in traffic, then now it pulls him out of the cycle. Okay, it's not maybe ideal on the optimum for a race strategy because it might incur something, but over the course of this race, then it's always better to be in clear air if you can. 69 Ford there. And Richard Westbrook is fighting with Antonio Garcia. He was attacking Pierre Guidi just a lap ago, but there seems to be Guidi's made a bit of a break and keeping the Aston Martins honest as we look back through towards the Corvette as it thunders down towards the Porsche corners.
And we look back through, Alan, the radical aerodynamics on that Ford GT, the way it's sculpted as the flat six screams its way with the Porsche engine right behind the Corvette. So American turbo, American muscle car, and then Weissach German engineering, Linus Stern.
Yeah, and you hear them coming through the long right at the slightly re-sculpted Porsche corners, the exit, where they've not changed the surface of the track at all. What they've done is move the barriers back, and that's allowed the drivers to see a little bit better and also take a wee bit more liberties, I would have said, with the corner, because they know they've got a get out of jail free card if need be. Right now though, Westbrook's coming under a bit of pressure because they're stacked up behind him.
Back though with the overall leaders of this motor race, Mike Conway, Neil Jani and Sebastian Buemi.
Yeah, and Conway's actually been caught up a wee bit with the traffic as now he comes in, you can see them, and Yanni is close up behind. It'll be less than a second as they flick right through. There's only one GT car between them, and that's allowed Yanni to catch up, but it's also dropped right off the back.
Oh, we've got a Signatech Alpine in the gravel. One of the Signatech, it's the number 36, so that's Gustavo Menezes at the wheel. He was about 10th in class, and what has happened here? Mulsanne. He's gone straight on at Mulsanne. Not the first, not the last.
Yeah, locked up the right front as he's gone in there. He hasn't hit the barrier, but that has dug him back down into it. That's just frustration. Here we're on board, comes into it, you're turning it a little bit, and as he's turned in, he's just locked up, and he's trying to get out off the brake, hoping, praying, but reality is, once you're in that gravel trap, there is no way to get back out. That is not the last time we're going to see that, Peter.
Of course, winner last time out, last year, so very frustrating for him. First stint and off the track. I'm sure he'll get back out, I'm sure it'll be okay, but it's going to put him well down the order, and we know how competitive LMP2 is this year, far more than any other cars on the grid, and yes, it's a real setback for those guys.
Look at this train.
That's a restart of the race, the replay as they drop over the line. The flag thrown by Chase Carey, the new boss of Formula One. Toyota-san pleased that his cars jumped up into the lead with Mike Conway that headed the charge there in the number 7. And here we'll see a replay maybe of what happened as the 9 of Lapierre is in there. There's a bit of a movement, and it actually looks like it could have been from the number 1 car. As he's gone in.
You see him get sideways there a little bit, you see that, and then the Porsche goes by.
That's where he just got a little bit squirrely, and that allowed the number 1 of Yanni to slide around the outside. So we didn't see where Lapierre, whether he got actually tangled up with the number 4.
Right, here's the 9. Collins hit a bollard. The bollard then went into the right-hand front of the number 9 Toyota. So there was no contact, but there was debris thrown up by the floppy bollard that's signifying the track limit, and that kicked up and hit the Toyota. Now we know the full story.
You've only done 1.5 kilometres into a 5,500 kilometre race, and you've run wide, as now we're into a slow zone.
So we've got a slow zone down between the final chicane on the back straight towards the Mulsanne corner, because we've got to get out the number 36 Alpine. That's Gustavo Menezes. Because he did this, he locked up, he went into the gravel, as Alan was explaining a moment ago, so they're going to have a four-wheel drive, a JCB, to pluck him out, because they can't leave him there like they used to do in the 50s. They've got to get that car out of the way. It's beached, the stones are on its tummy. This is a replay of the number 26 G Drive Oreca. That's a potential, that's the pole position, one of the early pole position cars in the class. Alex Lynn, Thierry and Rusinov, and that's a potential LMP2 class winner already in the garage. Are you allowed to spin there and take a shortcut to the pit lane?
I don't know. I think there'll be a little bit of a vision of that, because he was actually past the pit lane entry. If you've got a terminal technical issue, you take the risk, because your penalty of stopping out in the circuit is much higher, obviously. But in that, it just looked like there was a bit of damage to the nose. I think that we'll have to actually just have a little look at, because normally he shouldn't be in a position to do that.
Just to finish our thread about the slow zone down towards that Mulsanne corner with Menezes' Alpine, that means that the cars have got to stop to do 80 kilometres an hour. Meanwhile, Alan.
Yeah, can we get back to this battle at the moment? We'll come back to the slow zones, because I'm sure we're going to have more of them. Just see the cars now coming through the GT battle, and it looks like Conway's actually delivered, because there's now 2 GT cars in between him and Neil Yanni. Yanni will now go around the outside of them on this long right-hander. This is 160 miles an hour as he's running around outside, but Conway's been able to take a bit of a breather, a bit of a gap, as now they've cleared that whole gaggle of traffic. So now for these guys, there's a long gap to the back of the LMP2 battle, which is their next opportunity. The loser out of all of this is Sebastian Buemi in the third place in the second Toyota.
Ollie Jarvis leading LMP2, Bruno Senna behind him in the white and metallic blue liveried LMP2 car. Then you've got Vitaly Petrov, he's third in class in the number 25 Manor Racing Oreca. We ride on board with Jarvis.
Now for Oliver Jarvis, he's got the Porsche corners coming up. It was important to clear those GT cars before he got to this point, because now he can take his own line, he can let the car run through here. Carries much more momentum and speed through here. He'll have to lift off because of that car that we just saw ahead of him later on, but this looks like it is Menezes, who's now been taken out of the gravel trap. He's been picked out and he's on his way back to the pits.
And he is down at the moment in 56 8th position out of 60 cars. A lot of work to do.
Bit of action up here with Pierre Guidi right behind Darren Turner in the Aston Martin. Nicky Thiem has disappeared. He's now 4 seconds. This is a battle for second place, and now Darren Turner's having to block a little bit, but behind him got another Ferrari looking down the inside of the Corvette as well. That's Sam Bird looking down in the inside of Antonio Garcia.
2nd to 9th position in that Crocodile.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Fantastic.
I wonder whether Darren Turner fell foul of the P1s going by, and whether he kind of got held up a little bit, and it was good for Nicky Thiem because he was able to stretch his gap. No pressure on him. Darren's got to defend a little bit, so he's not going to be quite as quick.
Nelson Piquet Jr. in the Rebellion LMP2 car comes into the pits, so he's not going to get out. Fuel going in. No tyres being changed, just to clean the screen. Bit of fuel, and he'll be on his way in a moment. The former Formula E world champion.
Yeah, stop there. They can't refuel and put tyres on at the same time. Quite a few of the LMP2 cars will be coming in on this lap as well, because we're on lap 7 going into lap 8. Normally they can do 9-10 laps, and so therefore I can see some coming out of sync on your ideal strategy, just as we said before, for others to try to get into a bit of clear air.
Somebody going very wide on the exit of the Gustavo Menezes. He may well indeed shake his head like that as he gets out of the car, and it looks like Matt Rao getting in. Matt Rao, he knows how to win races, so they put him in the car. That door will be snapped shut, and he will be on his way in a moment. There goes 2nd. There's the 3rd place Ferrari in GTE Pro, Alessandro Pierre Guidi. What a race, as expected, in GTE Pro.
Well, after having 1.5 seconds covering the top 12 in qualifying, then I think we're in for a decent old battle, there's no question. Right now, I think you're right there, though, Peter, because Nicky Thiem is 4.1 seconds ahead, and that's left Turner with his mirrors completely and utterly full of the gaggle that's right behind him. As there is now a Corvette and battle at the back there with which looks like Muka and Gavin are fighting out. Gavin trying to go round outside of Porsche. Oh, it's a bit risky, that one, though, to pull it off at this early stage.
Yes, I'm just looking down to the Pro-Am battle as well. We haven't said much about that yet. Fernando Reis, I think he's got a 12-second gap now on Pedro Lamy, so you know he's very much in command of that Pro-Am battle. I think his teammates, when they get into the car, perhaps aren't quite as strong as Lamy's teammates, so we might see them close back up again. Of course, we've got Townsend Bell in the 3rd position in Pro-Am as well, so a good little battle going on down there as well. But yeah, battles throughout the field.
Oh yes, as they start another lap. That is the 8th lap completed, sorry, 7th lap, apologies, completed for the GTE Pro class. Nose to tail, bumper to bumper. Look at the depth of field, look at the different styles of engineering, the different ways to try and skin a cat that Alan was talking about earlier in the race, between these turbocharged engines, V8, V6s, flat 6s, as we come back on board with the leader of this motor race, Mike Conway.
So I'm interested to see in the next lap or two whether Buemi can catch Yanni back up again, or whether Yanni does have enough speed to keep that gap back to Buemi that he made in the traffic.
Yeah, a couple of pit guys, 38 and 31 coming in now, and that's Thomas Laurent coming in, Oliver Jarvis, sorry, in the 38 car. That's a car that was leading. He's into his pit position, and I would expect Jarvis to stay in the car and to do another stint, and I would expect, as you see the Dunlop tyre guy there just looking to see if there's any sort of damage, and also how the tyre is actually working and how it's looking to stand up to these very, very high track temperatures, up to just under 50 degrees Celsius. But there's no tyre set out there, so I suspect this is going to be a fuel-only stop for these guys, as it is.
On his way goes the iconic colours of a Senna crash helmet. The green, the yellow and the blue, as Ayrton's nephew gets on his way. That is Stefan Bocca getting ahead of Sam Bird, the Ford ahead of the Ferrari as they come out of the Michelin chicane. on the end of the Mulsanne Straight. Nose to tail, one side of the road for one crocodile, the other side of the road for the other. This is GTE Pro going down the back section of this 8.5 mile Le Mans circuit.
Yes, now we're looking again back through at the back of the Ferrari there as they're running down, and that's released. It looks to me a little bit, Peter, as if the Fords are sort of slowly coming into their stride, as we've got another pit stop there by the 17 Ligier, number 17, and that's by a father and son combination of Lafarge. We've actually seen that car having a few dramas and troubles being off in gravel traps through the course of the qualifying before jumping back in towards this GTE battle.
Yep, as you say, all the marks out there right now are fairly close. There's very little between them. Perhaps Aston's slightly stronger up the front, but all of the rest of them up through the gears.
Does it sound good? Does it sound good?
Dan Turner again stretching his legs, so he's now, I guess, trying to catch his teammate up, Nicky Thiem. Still a 4-second gap between them, so that gap remains constant, and Turner pulls away from Pierre Guidi behind.
Dave Wilcox in the middle of your shots, ever a man who knows about engineering both rally cars and also GT cars. Here's Rubens Barrichello's Dutch entered Jumbo de Lara. He is sharing the car with Jan Lammers and Fritz van Aert. They go out of the pits having done a fuel only. So they will get back up to speed in no short order. Here, there are a couple of the GTE AM cars that they are going past. One of the Proton Porsches, and looks like one of the Risi Ferraris. They're still doing an electrifying pace, but everybody's struggling to keep up, as Peter said a moment ago, with Fernando Reis, who is some now 13 seconds ahead of Pedro Lami's Aston Martin, and Townsend Bell in the WeatherTech Ferrari in third position, the Californian in the number 62. Meanwhile, this is a great duel that we've got between Aleshin and James Allen, the Russian and the Aussie. They come into the garage. This is a battle that will, I'm sure, get going again by the time they've come out.
Yeah, this is all the P2s now coming in because they're basically right on the limitation of fuel, and there you can see also the car that I think is being driven by Jean-Eric Verne at this moment in time, and he pops into the pits. I think all of these guys, though, they're only going to be looking at doing fuel. I would be very, very surprised if anybody actually put any tyres on, because you're only in a limited allocation. For the LMP cars, you've got 12 sets. For the GTE, you've only got 16 sets of tyres. And so when you're stopping in under 40 minutes, then ultimately you won't have enough tyres for the whole race weekend, so the whole race duration. So you've got to be very conservative with that. So right now they'll all be going for double stints minimum on their tyre.
There's your new leader in the LMP2 class. That is Bruno Senna. He is in the number 31 Rebellion. They know how to get around Le Mans, formerly in the LMP1 class, now in this LMP2 class. Now we come up to Tête Rouge. He looks over to the right-hand side, looking. Now it's into its stride as it goes down the Mulsanne Straight. That is the Cetilar de Lara, the number 47, Lacourte, Serna Giotto and Beliki. They go on their way. This, though, is the number 40. That was James Allen that we saw coming in. Now he's coming out, as we have the number 30 guy with the puncture. That is the Graf Oreca. It's got a puncture on the front left. He's coming through the Porsche curves. Got about 2-3 kilometers of the lap still to go. The carcass of the tyre may have broken free, but at least it's in one loop still, Alan.
Yeah, it is. He's got to be a little bit careful. He hasn't got very far to go. You've got to be careful that the tyre doesn't disintegrate completely, as that would do a heck of a lot of damage and mean a lot of repair time into the pits. Porsche having to defend there as it goes in wide, and the Corvette as well. It's allowed the Ford onto the outside. I don't think he'll be able to get it done into Arnage because it's a right-hander, but it does compromise the entry for the Corvette, and he'll look to try and get the power down and accelerate past him down towards the Porsche curves.
great racing. This battle for 6th position between Garcia and Stefan Mucha. Garcia chasing the Porsche in front of him. Garcia, the lead yellow Corvette, as it is still Dane Nicky Team leading the GTE Pro category ahead of Darren Turner. We ride on board with the number 66. This is Stefan Mucha, the German, former Aston racer.
Yes, factory driver for Aston Martin for many years actually, so it was a big shock when he moved over to Ford. Ford came in last year, he moved over to them together with Richard Westbrook, etc. Yeah, doing very well. Last year, of course, Ford winning with the American entry. There seems to be 2 European cars, 2 American cars. So Mucha doing the full WEC championship in one of the European cars, and then 2 American cars doing the American championship.
Got a bit of a Formula E battle going on here, have we not, Mr. McNish, between Venn and Piquet Jr.?
Yeah, we've seen that battle before in quite a few paddocks in reality, and also both of them ex-Formula 1 drivers, and now in the LMP2 category here at Le Mans.
We are with Thomas Gomendy, the youngster who was brilliant in qualifying. He's the 3rd car in this train at the moment. They're one of the DC Jackie Chan racing cars. Yes, that Jackie Chan. The team that's got 2 cars in the full championship and was launched in Shanghai just a week before the opening race of the 2017 season that took place at Silverstone.
Yeah, just looking at the shakeout after the pit stops, we've seen Bruno Senna in the lead, and this is actually the battle for 4th place. But the big loser out of that pit stop section was actually the race leader when he went in, being Oliver Jarvis. And they've had, well, what was a 1 minute 26 stop, so it's 20 seconds, 22 seconds longer than everybody else. So I'm not sure if they changed tyre. I didn't see it, and I would be very surprised if they did. But that was a slow stop by the Jota crew.
Going back to the P1s, I'm just looking at Nicolas Lapierre, down 27 seconds now behind Conway. Damage to his car, we know from that first lap. I think it has had to have an effect on that car. He's lost front downforce, it seems to me anyway, and I think he's just gradually slipping back. So when they come in now for the pit stop, I think they'll try and do something about that and bring him back onto the pace again, because they can't afford to keep losing that kind of time. Lap 11 for the P1s, so maybe in slightly earlier than normal as well.
Yeah, he's in slightly earlier, partly because he's got the problem there, and I think it'd also be drag that it would also affect, because it's right in the light cluster area. The second thing is that Toyota won't necessarily want all of their 3 cars coming in the same lap, so they'll stagger them out. Because he was the last of the Toyota crew, then they will then have to then try and take the worst of the pit stop options in that respect.
Oh, it's been a big smash into the front right of that car. They've got a spare nose just out of shot to the left-hand side. It's going to be pounced on in a moment's time once the fuel has gone in to power that V6 Toyota internal combustion engine that they've got in that car. Remember, they've got another 500 horsepower coming from the electric, the hybrid power that they've got under the rear hood. I'd love to see that nose going on. It's already gone on, and they're on their way. Yep, new nose on the number 9 Toyota. Nico Lapierre on his way. Now, let's see some lap times from him. Back though with LMP2. This is the number 38 car. This is Ollie Jarvis battling with Nelson Panciatici. Okay, we're up here in our commentary box. Let's catch up with Louise Beckett, who is getting pretty warm down there in the pits. Louise, take it away.
Yes, well, I've just spoken to the number 38 crew, and they said that there was a problem with the starter in that pit stop, and that's the reason for it taking longer and them losing time. And just walking down the pits, looks like the number 2 crew are getting ready for their car to come in.
Okay, thank you, Louise. The number 2 crew, that's the Porsche of Timo Bernhard, currently 4th overall at the moment. So, starter motor problems already for that red-topped DC Jackie Chan racing car.
Yeah, it's not the first time starter motors have even problem in that category, because basically it's a cost cap category, and therefore they have seen it quite often where they've struggled to start after pit stops. In fact, that team were helped a little to winning the European Le Mans Series title last year, because their main competitor, the G-Drive team, the new G-Drive team, they actually had a starter issue.
Oh, having to feather the throttle, a little bit nervous as they went round one of the other cars there. That gives a bit of a chance for Panciatici to leap away in the blue Signatech Alpine. There's the number 7 car, that's the leading Toyota. The one with the red nose, just behind the graphic, coming into shots. He is leading this race. Mike Conway at the wheel. That's 12 laps now done for Mike Conway. He's yet to come in. We expect 13 or 14 laps, Alan.
Yeah, we do. And but number 2 has dropped in. That's Timo Bernhard in the 4th place Porsche, is now into the pits with Sebastian Buemi in the 3rd place Toyota. So yes, Conway, because he is leading, he gets the best chance and options on the strategy. So he will go the longest, which is your ideal strategy. And his teammates, because they are behind, they'll have to take the worst strategies. As you can see now, 2 in the pits, and also number 8.
Cleaning the windscreen, getting the bugs off that windscreen. They don't want to use one of the tear-offs from the windscreen that has been laid on the sort of F-16 fighter jet kind of windscreen that these LMP1 cars have got. They'll keep that for another pit stop later in this race. How many layers do they put on these windscreens, Alan?
You get different. Some teams have got about 4 or 5, but you can use up till about 8. And after that, you start to get a lot of distortion coming in there. Very, very difficult thing to do is to put on that. In fact, there's only one company that I know that actually can do it, and do it effectively.
Without getting any bubbles in or any wobbles in. Yeah, perfect. So the guys using the fluids and the chemicals to get the bugs off. Here's a super slow-mo, and isn't it a super slow-mo, isn't it? Of the Porsche and the Toyota coming through the final chicane here, right in front of our commentary position. And you can see the slide in the car, can't you, Alan?
Yeah, you can see that as he's coming through. Managed to have one wheel on the tyre. And you reported that car number 26, when it spun ahead of us, that it shouldn't have came back into the pits in the way that it did, because if you remember, it sort of drove a little bit, only a few metres the wrong way up the circuit, and then came into the pit entry, and it has now been reported to the stewards for an incorrect pit entry.
So, full house here. Great to see the young fans, the fans for the future, maybe even the drivers of the future here at Le Mans as we ride with Sebastian Buemi. This is an outlap for the 3rd position car. He's halfway down the Mulsanne Straight as we speak. Talking about fans of the future, did you come here early on, Peter? Did you come here to Le Mans as a fan, or you came here first and foremost as a driver later on in your career?
I came here in '99 for the first time as a driver. I think, you know, for me, coming through my single-seater career, it was never really a race for me. It wasn't on my vision. I was always intent on doing single-seater racing as long as I could and trying to make it to Formula 1. I then got the chance, after winning in Formula 3 in Japan and in Macau, to join Mercedes and join their Le Mans program, and so that was me coming for the first time in '99 and seeing this all for the first time, and racing against Alan, of course.
Yeah, that's nearly 20 years ago though now, Peter.
It is.
Yeah, with Porsche 1 coming into the pits. In fact, we've got his team radio as well.
I always have brake lights going on in the shortly after peak pressure, so I really lock the front door. Are those lights just scaring me, because then I'm more confident for Mulsanne. I know they look like false alarm.
Yeah, that's Neil Yanni looking for clarification. They've got brake locking lights and acceleration lights on the dashboard. We might, when we go on board with it, you'll see it on the right-hand side of the screen, and they flicker when the wheels are starting to lock, and he's not sure whether that's happening, because he can feel that through the brake pedal as well when it's starting to lock, and that's just a little early indicator, and so therefore he's not sure whether it is true or whether it is purely a sensor fault. And in this occasion, a sensor fault. The thing is, when you have them, you start to have to trust them all the time. But when you're barreling into the Mulsanne corners, the one he talked about there, and you brake at 110 metres from a corner and trying to take out 150 miles an hour from the car, then you have to have total confidence in the car is going to actually stop. If not, that's exactly what happened to Gustavo Menezes in the LMP2 car.
Let's see how the stagger unravels. There's your leader coming out. There's your number one. That's in second place coming out. No, it's not. It's now third. The Toyotas have leapt that Porsche, so it's a Toyota 1-2 as the leader goes wide. The leader goes wide, getting an opportunity for number 8. That is Sebastian Buemi. Is he going to be able to go around the outside on the inside? Alan's saying, no, don't do it, don't do it. Long way to go.
Yeah, long way to go. He wasn't quite far enough alongside to be able to have a look at it, but Buemi is fully up to speed. Conway, though, is not, and now is the time that Buemi's cut well. He's got a nice draft on him, so I'd expect him to slipstream up behind Conway, and this will be an overtake for the lead. First one we've seen in the race so far.
Conway, he's on his 14th lap. He's in the rhythm of the car. Buemi has got full fuel, so he's got extra weight in his car in second place. But he's closing. He's got the draft, he's got the slipstream as we come up to the first chicane, the Forza chicane on the Mulsanne straights.
Yeah, Conway just been into the pits, come back out, and this is it. And this has allowed Buemi to have a nice run on him as he's accelerated out. That's the danger part for Conway. Now, pretty much, as long as he gets through the next chicane, he should be okay. But Buemi wants to try to take the advantage, because if you don't, if you're the second in that team train, as we spoke about before, as we see a replay here of Conway actually just going a bit deep into the Dunlop corner, the first braking for him, and then Buemi not being able to get it done. If you are the second car or the third car in that team order, then you get the worst strategy. The leader always gets the best strategy.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Obviously, they've both done pit stops, so that's absolutely level pegging. Getting ahead of myself. Toyota 1-2 here at Le Mans after 47 minutes of running in this 24-hour race. Coming up behind the Golf Porsche. That is out of the way. The Golf Racing car. Foster, Barker and Wainwright at the helm of that one. As we chase the leader, he's getting closer. Buemi in the number 8 Toyota. He's going around the outside into Indianapolis. That's a manoeuvre.
Certainly is. That was quite brave of him, but he required it to be his teammate. I think if that was a Porsche he's overtaken, it would have been a bit of a tougher ask. But Conway knew that risking it at this point isn't that good. But Buemi has taken the lead of the race. And now it'll be interesting to me whether Buemi can actually start to stretch his lead and pull away a little bit more.
There you have your new leader, Sebastian Buemi. Now that lead just 10 car lengths or so. He's coming up behind one of the 4 GTE Pro cars. That familiar passing place around the outside of that right-hander. Now Conway will tuck inside, and there's the Porsche getting really close, really close. That Porsche could be taking second position. Here's a replay of the change of the lead as Buemi on the left-hand side barrels past him into Indianapolis. That's a manoeuvre.
It's a bumpy little place down into there, and as he used the traffic just to get a nice draft, and as you can see, they're sort of bouncing in off each other, and you actually feel the car moving around with your teammate beside you. But as you say, now Conway's dropped back a little bit, and it's Neil Yanni in the Porsche that's in there. There's also just a little bit of traffic up ahead, and this traffic is going to compromise him because he won't be able to clear both of them before he now gets down through the S's.
The Bratislava LMP2